Greetings, salutations, and welcome to SportsLook, the sports television program for the high plains of West Texas and eastern New Mexico. I'm your host, Doc Elder, and a little bit of a change in SportsLook. We're not actually going to have a coach. We're going to have a broadcaster, and we're going to have a sports information director, Vic Lopez and Jose Montoya. I'll finish up with an overtime, but as always, I'll start out with an Eastern recap. Greyhound offense played really well against the University of Texas Permian Basin on Saturday. They actually doubled up the scoring average that UTPB has allowed all season long. But unfortunately, the Greyhounds did give up more points than they scored, so they do lose. They will be in action this weekend. We had Greyhound volleyball at home. Unfortunately, they dropped both of their home matches. They'll finish up on the road this weekend. And speaking of Greyhound activity, we have basketball jumping into high gear. Greyhound ladies will have the first two games of the season. They'll be on the road. And the Greyhound guys, they'll have two games this weekend at the Steve Loy Family Foundation Arena. Well, that has been your Eastern recap, so we'll clear this out and we'll bring in Vic Lopez right now. Welcome back to SportsLook, and a privilege to bring to the set one of the most recognizable radio voices on the High Plains. We've got one half of the radio duo of Coach and Coach. This is Vic Lopez. Vic, welcome to SportsLook.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
We'll talk more about that in a minute, but we'll set the stage first. Where are you from, and what was the process that got you to the position you have today?
Well, I'm born and raised here in Portales, and kind of just a homegrown kid. I graduated from Portales High School, went to Eastern, and taught a little bit. My wife and I both taught in Hobbs for the beginning of our kind of school careers, and as soon as we're able to get back to Portales, we came back to Portales probably around 2012, and we've been here ever since. We raised our family here, and now they're graduated from Portales High School, and they're off doing their own thing. So, just kind of the fast version of that, my life type of story. But yeah, I'm proud to be a Ram, proud to be a Greyhound, and I'm glad that you asked me to be on here tonight.
And the name Lopez, for people that aren't familiar with Portales, it's a very distinguished name in the history of Portales.
Yeah, my grandfather Jake has been a councilman and a city commissioner for many years here. He's got a building named after him, so that's pretty well. And my uncle Fabian, he worked with Eastern through the purchasing department for many years. He retired from here, so a lot of our family members have come through Eastern as well. So, yeah, it's definitely proud to be, part of the Lopez family, and hopefully kind of carrying that positive influence in the community forward. So.
Talk a little bit about your association with sports growing up.
Just one of those typical small town kids, like to play every sport, and growing up. And as I got into junior high and high school, kind of gravitated towards football, basketball, a little bit of baseball. That was probably my weakest sport growing up, but definitely enjoyed just being around my friends, and I had some pretty good success later on, and especially in football and baseball, we were able to make some noise in those two sports, and and you look back and the fond memories you have of being able to represent your school, and fortunately we came around not quite at the age of the handheld camera phones, but we did have. I tell my kids we do have the videos to prove that I could play a little bit back in the day, so every now and then I had to break it out and show it to them, much to my wife's chagrin, but she's probably seen them 1,000 times. But it's always good to be there and just be part of that and have that community pride of saying, yeah, I went through it just like you guys are going to go through it, and just have a good time with it while you're there.
And let's see how good my memory is. If I remember correctly, your junior year baseball team finished second in state, senior year finished third in the state, senior year of football, you guys, and that was back when there were only four classes, so it was really hard to get any place. You guys made it to the semifinals that year.
Yeah, back then it was just first and second place in district, and that's when we've had Artesia, the Lovingtons, the Goddards in the district, so you really had to have a pretty good team to get into the playoffs. And we had a good playoff run, got to the semifinals. Didn't play our best game, and got upset. Get silver. We were kind of wanting to get a rematch with Livingston that year to see if we can bring home the blue, but got close in baseball. Lost to Cobre in the championship my junior year. And then we came back and actually lost in the semifinals to St. Pius, but we were able to beat Cobre for the third place game my senior year. So just you look back, you say, man, we're pretty fortunate to be able to, because there's been some great Portales teams that, because of the district, was tough to get through, and it was like that in all sports. I think Artesia won in basketball while I was coming through, and of course they were powerhouse in baseball as well. So it was definitely a battle to get through your district back then.
So Vic, at what age did you decide that you wanted to go into teaching and coaching?
Well, it really wasn't until, I've always loved sports and stuff, and I've loved history, but for some reason, I fell in love with math and accounting. So when I first got to college, I was like, I think I'll be an accountant, and I got to college, and it just really wasn't what I had a passion for, and I was sitting around and, watching start of college football season, start of high school, and just like, I want to be around the game. I want to be around the kids. So that's when I kind of decided to make the transition back into education and into coaching. And fortunately, it's been able to work out to where not only am I doing that, I'm doing it in a place that I really, really care about. So
I know it's been a long time, but looking back on your years at Eastern, what were good classes that you remember?
Eastern was, it's sad because it's like 20 years ago now, but looking back, we had some classes. I definitely loved your class. I got to give you a shout out. Yeah, the history. I've always gravitated towards history. I kind of grew up with one of my grandparents. We used to go camping, and he used to just sit around telling stories about Billy the Kid and some of the stuff that went on with New Mexico history. And I kind of just found, I think that's what I kind of trace it back to. But I always enjoy my history classes. Enjoy the psychology classes. I can't remember the professors' names, but it's really, once you get those core classes, those essential classes out of the way, you can focus on exactly what you're going into. And it was always those history classes. I had a good time with the HPE classes I had to take. I was part of the intramural staff back then, setting up the football games and basketball and all that stuff. So just like any college student, I would hope to have some great memories back in going through their college days, and we definitely had some of those.
Vic, we talked at the beginning of the segment about the fact that you are a very recognizable radio voice on the High Plains. You and Dusty Nusser are coach and coach, and you're associated with broadcasting Portales Ram Athletics. You're actually going to be filling in, and you're going to be broadcasting Eastern Athletics this weekend. But tell us about how you got into broadcasting.
It really was Coach Nusser. It was Dusty who came along and said, hey, Doc's kind of being overworked doing the high school stuff and the college stuff. And, there was another person lined up. And for some reason, I can't remember who that person was, but they kind of had to drop out last second. I was like, well, we might as well do it. We're always at the games. We're going to be at the games supporting the guys and the girls there. And, let's step into it. And I think that was probably around 2015, around that year, where we decided to, jump in and see what we could do. We weren't sure. We knew the game. We've gone. Dusty's the son of a coach, so he knew the game real well. I played all the sports coming up, so what's the worst they can do? I guess just turn us off if we were that bad. So we gave it a shot, and Rooney Moon was fortunate. We were fortunate enough for them to keep us around, and we kind of just grown into it as we've gone. It's hard to believe it's already been about 10 years since we've been doing this. So,
yeah,
time flies when you're having fun, I guess is the saying. And we definitely had a good time calling a lot of great games.
I was just going to ask you, so what are some memorable broadcasts that you've had?
Well, we were back in the days where we were in the district with Hope Christian, and they were kind of having their run. One of our, boys basketball teams went up to Hope and beat them on a last-second, near half-court shot to kind of shock them. They hadn't really lost to a 4A basketball team at that point, and that was a great memory to have. Our ladies have definitely been a powerhouse and calling some of their state championship victories, over the years, and with Coach Frey's leading the Lady Rams. Those are always great, but, it's always a good time. And then, we've been fortunate enough to call some EPAC games, and we've had some great getting to know those teams from, the area, and seeing how those players battle, and it's usually a prelude to the state championship. I remember a great game with Texaco that Dusty and I were able to call, where it was a triple overtime game, and it was a kind of a game of attrition by the time it was over. We had some guys playing their hearts out, and I think Santa Rosa was able to pull that one out. But, you're able just to be around the game, and you see, the year changes, but just the competitiveness among the kids, that continues on, and the pride of the schools. So that's always been great to see.
So what we are going to be having this weekend is we're going to have a perfect storm on the High
Yeah.
Plains. We've got Greyhound men's basketball. They're hosting a 2-day tournament, so they're going to be playing Friday and they're going to be playing Saturday. Greyhound football has their last home game of the season at 1 o'clock on Saturday, and you graciously have agreed to do all of those broadcasts for us. So what do you think is the biggest difference that you're going to see going from broadcasting high school basketball to broadcasting college basketball?
I would assume the speed of the game, and just how it's played. It's played maybe a little bit more above the rim. Definitely, a lot of 3-point shooting in today's game. I'm excited about the Eastern program this year. With Coach Vogt, coming back, and I believe last year was his first year back.
Yep.
So his second year is, there's a lot of excitement around Greyhound basketball. So, that's a good thing too. Obviously I got into calling Rams game because I'm an alumni and I love the Rams, but I'm also a Greyhound alumni. So anytime I get to go out and support, whether it's basketball, football, soccer, we had a former coach, a student that helped us last year coaching. She's playing with the soccer team this year. So supporting them. So it's always good to see the Greyhounds, have success, and hopefully the Greyhounds can add on to that this year.
And it's kind of cool. There is a little bit of a connection between what you do during the fall, which is to be an assistant coach for the Ram football team, with the Greyhound football team you're going to be broadcasting, because head coach for the Greyhounds' last name is Lee.
Yeah.
Your starting quarterback last name is Lee.
Yeah, and honestly, I was hoping to throw a wrench into your plans this weekend because we had a playoff game last week, and unfortunately we didn't win. But if we were to win that game, I was probably not going to be able to broadcast the game. So it's a little bittersweet. Definitely want to continue our season, but we'll rebound and be back next year with a pretty good team led by Kingston, who had a great year for a freshman this year for us. So it's just being around the game again. College is probably the same thing as I talked about basketball. A little bit faster, a little bit more physicality in it, especially with the way the Greyhounds play, and hopefully ending up the season with a big win against Kingsville.
And Vic, for people that don't know, I've known you since I moved here in 1995. My son was a teammate of yours. You were a couple years ahead of him. But it's been a pleasure to watch you grow up and become the distinguished persona that you are. And hope you have a great time with the broadcast this weekend.
Yeah, I plan on. Thank you. And again, I guess it's kind of at the beginning of the things. If they don't like it, I guess they could turn it off. I'm going to do my best to not make that happen. But I'm excited about the opportunity this weekend. So
very good.
Thank you.
Well, that is going to wrap up the first interview segment. So we'll clear the set, and we're going to bring in our outstanding sports information director, Jose Montoya, right now. Welcome back to SportsLook, and a privilege to bring back to the set of SportsLook the outstanding sports information director from Eastern New Mexico University, Jose Montoya. And Jose, I hope you're taking your vitamins and getting plenty of sleep, because you're going to be a little busy this weekend.
Yes, well, the time has hit. Crossover season is finally here. One thing that college athletic administrators around the country, well, they really love so much.
Yes, because we are going to have the conclusion of a fall sport and the beginning of a winter sport.
Yep, so a couple fall sports wrap up this weekend. We have volleyball in Oklahoma, football at home, and then men's basketball starts at home this weekend. Women's basketball begins their season on the road.
Let's talk a little bit about the sports season that was. I mean, we had some young coaches trying to build their programs, and for soccer, admittedly, kind of a long season. Volleyball has won some matches. They've lost some contests that they probably wish they could do over. But I definitely think they're high energy individuals, and if we'll just stay with them, they have every likelihood they can turn things around.
Sure. The great thing about sports is, there's a winner and there's a loser, right? And also, we really enjoy the energy that first-year head coaches bring to this athletic department. So you have someone in Nona Borden who took on quite the challenge herself, and she's out there already on the recruiting trail, so very excited about that. And then you have Carly Bustos, who has done it in the past where she's had some losing seasons and ended up finding a way to take teams to the national level, right, earning top 25 rankings. No reason why she couldn't do it here as well. And then also, when you look at veteran coaches like Kelly Lee, who's around the 500 career mark for his win total. He's done well with the Greyhounds, has won a bowl game here, and now is just trying to get over that hump and has a chance to finish 5th in the conference this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, the stakes are there for the Greyhounds to try and rake in. A first-year coach who has been very successful, probably surprisingly so, John Sharp, the head rodeo coach.
Sure. So the rodeo program has done some excellent things early on, and that comes from 2 graduate transfers from Texas Tech. So they follow John Sharp to Eastern New Mexico in Mackenzie Dermody. She's done really well for the Greyhound women, has won a couple rodeos, and goat tying is one of her specialties. So excited to see what she can do this next rodeo coming up and in the spring, see if she can qualify for Casper. And then he also has a pretty solid men's team as well. Looking forward to see how they continue to compete. And I also have to mention that we have a cross-country squad led by Coach Harden, and then Kiana Browning takes over the distance program. So she controls a lot of those workouts and the way they train, and they have the first ever Eastern New Mexico Freshman of the Year for the Lone Star Conference, and she did well at regionals, placing in the top 60. So very excited for our distance program because there's a huge distance history here in Greyhound country.
Oh yeah, anybody with any familiarity with Eastern New Mexico University, probably track and field, cross country, the first sports that come to mind.
Absolutely. I definitely don't disagree with that statement at all.
Looking ahead to the winter sports, we had a really fun event. We had late night at the Loy, and we got our first look at the Greyhound women and Greyhound guys, and just high energy on both those squads.
So cool to be able to have a community event, get together, and just really showcase the talent of our student athletes. Both the women's and men's programs have high expectations, and although those expectations preseason poll-wise aren't exactly where they see themselves, that's a good thing. They want to see themselves winning conference titles and potentially hosting a regional championship here in Portales come March, because basketball in March in Portales, that's going to be pretty cool.
For the Greyhound guys, they get a chance to host a 2-day event, and the 2 schools that we're playing against, they are definitely interesting matchups for Greyhound men's basketball.
Right, so Eastern New Mexico men's basketball opens up the season against Fort Lewis, a team that has had the Greyhounds number over the last couple years, but a team that 1 or 2 baskets advantage-wise, Greyhounds could have won those games in either year. So looking forward to seeing how those contests play out. New Mexico Highlands on Saturday, a team that played University of North Texas earlier, and also this week played New Mexico State.
And they have a new coach, if I understand correctly, and the buzz in Las Vegas is that guy is definitely turning things around.
Definitely a firecracker of a coach. It's fun watching him on the sideline. I got to catch some good minutes of that UNT game, and he definitely made himself known.
And we'll tell people that they can go watch that in person. So talk a little bit about the season in terms of how people can access tickets.
Right, so goeasternathletics.com is our best website. there's a section called Buy Tickets, or people can bypass that at all and go goeasternathletics.com/tickets. So 2 easy ways. Anyone can find myself on the staff directory or any one of our other administrative staff members, and they can find you the best way to purchase tickets. So looking forward to that. Single game tickets are already on sale.
And I was going to say that in the past couple of years, we started a new tradition where instead of everybody sitting in the seats around the horseshoe, that we've actually got seats on the court. Are they all sold out, or are there still some courtside seats?
There are very few select available, and most of those are primarily on the visitor side. So very excited to see a pretty full row. We've sold out of those seats 2 years in a row when it comes to season-wise. Now we have a few select available for individual games, which is a good thing. We've made a lot of improvements in that department.
And it's always fun just to go watch a basketball game, but we're going to be a little bit more high energy in that not only do we have a spirit squad, but now we've also got a dance squad.
Right, so very excited to incorporate so much more that our student life brings to the university, brings good community involvement, but also university experience.
And it wouldn't be a Greyhound basketball game conference style if we didn't have the pep band. So I've got to send a big shout out to those guys and gals as well.
Absolutely. As someone who played sousaphone in the pep band for 4 years at the University of Kansas, got to play in Allen Fieldhouse, definitely always a cool experience.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It doesn't get any better than being there for Division I basketball with the University of Kansas. We'd be remiss if we didn't point out that the Greyhound football team still has a game. It's sandwiched between the basketball game Friday night, the basketball game Saturday night. The Greyhounds, as you pointed out, could play for 5th place, so there's something on the line, but it's also going to be senior day.
Yep, very excited to recognize these seniors. So this is my 4th year at Eastern New Mexico, so I got to watch a lot of these seniors kind of grow up throughout these years and see how they have improved. You're talking about players like a Dylan Hine or a Christian Griego who have been here for quite a while and have seen so many good things from the Greyhound football program and want to continue to give back in many more ways.
And it's cool that you mentioned those two guys in particular because they're both New Mexico natives.
Yes, they are. And it's really neat to be able to look at the different rosters from the Division I, Division II schools in our state and realize, wow, Eastern New Mexico does the best when it comes to not only playing New Mexico players, but also recruiting, giving them opportunities to pursue a higher education.
We've had some games that started at 6 o'clock. We've had some games that started at 3 o'clock. This is going to be a 1 o'clock start for this game. What, from an SID standpoint, does it matter, or is there a time that you personally like football games to go?
Sure, it all depends on the day and what's going on throughout that day. So last time we had a football game, we had an 11 a.m. soccer match and then a 6 p.m. football game. This time around, we have a 1 p.m. football game and a 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock basketball game. So it all just runs and you do as you do because, well, that's what SIDs have to do.
In some ways, it's a lot easier now because everything is electronic when it comes to recording information, but there's more of an expectation now. It's like, oh, well, you can do this and you can do that. What's the toughest thing about your job now as opposed to when you started in the profession?
Right, so back in the day, sports information directors were maybe required to do 1, 2, and 3 types of things, right? And then nowadays, everything that's been added on when it comes to technology enhancements like video replay, or when we're talking about, hey, we need to post this, this, and this on social media, website, and additional content, right? That falls on the laps of the SIDs, and that plays such a big role for the whole athletic department as a whole. But at the end of the day, it adds more work, and that means longer hours as well. But that's okay. I mean, I get paid to cover incredible student athletes and to really work in an athletic department that's trying to bring that valuable experience to so many.
Speaking of valuable experience, because we are associated with Flow College Athletics and there are more broadcast opportunities, and what a great fit for Eastern.
Absolutely. So being able to stream all of our games, all of our contests on a network that provides so much already for some good Division I programs and bringing that to the Division II atmosphere, that's been really beneficial. And it's also nice for subscribers because those who do subscribe not only get like Eastern New Mexico contests, but they can also watch people like former coach Brent Owen and his Lenore Ryan Bears. They can watch some other Division I programs out there. So it's really neat.
So we've got about a minute left in the program. If there's one thing that you'd like to see added to what is already a pretty robust athletic department, what would you like to see us add?
That's a great question, Doc. I think there's so many great things that you can really tackle on and add, but I think we really need to focus on the student athlete, right? We need to prioritize their well-being and how we can continue to elevate their experience, whether that's in the medical aspect or potentially a financial monetary aspect.
I know that the coaches would give you an amen to that one. So, Jose, you do a sensational job. You make my job as a sports broadcaster so much easier. And keep up the good work, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Doc.
All right. Well, that is going to wrap up the interview segment of SportsLook. So we'll clear the set, and I'll finish up with an overtime right now. There were a couple of interesting subplots in the Monday Night Football game earlier this week. First of all, there's one team in the NFL that is really good at what's called the tush push, where you push a quarterback and just propel him forward. There's another team that is really against that and wants to have that banned. Guess what? Those two teams played each other on Monday Night Football. That beat the Green Bay Packers and the Philadelphia Eagles. Other subplot, guy who plays for the Green Bay Packers named Micah Parsons. He's a Philly boy. He's made no secret about the fact that he'd like to play for the Eagles someday. But it turned out that when the Dallas Cowboys traded him to Green Bay, there was a poison pill put into the contract that said that if anybody trades him to an NFC East team, they're going to pay a significant penalty in terms of draft choices. So Jerry Jones may not be very good at drafting players anymore, but he sure knows how to write a contract. Well, that will finish up in overtime, and that will finish up an episode of SportsLook. I'd like to thank my guests, Jose Montoya and Vic Lopez. Ms. Jasmine doing a great job of directing my floor crew. So for all those aforementioned people, this is Doc Elder saying, so long.